Hey everyone, I'm Selena Hill, and this is the new norm on Black Enterprise. Today I'm speaking with Robert Don Pooh Cummins, a legendary music executive turned franchisor and the owner of both Brooklyn Chop House, an upscale restaurant in downtown Manhattan, and Brooklyn Chop House Times Square, which is the largest Black owned establishment in New York City. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Don.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So, before we get into your current business ventures, I want to start by talking about your music career.
Okay.
Early in your career, you work closely with the likes of Jay-Z, Pete Diddy, and the Notorious B.I.G. You also discovered Foxy Brown and Shine. What led you into the music business?
So it was a culmination of a few things. It was just my passion for music. My parents, were always listening to their LPs and their vinyl, and listening to the greats, obviously like Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, The Whispers, Earth, Wind and Fire. So I kind of, in my head as a kid growing up, I had a lot of music in my heart and my soul. So what transpired in Howard University, I went to Howard University in DC, and I actually met Diddy and another friend of mine, Mark Pitts, and they ended up leaving Howard and pursuing a career in music. And through that, I garnered that relationship with them from college, and I had the opportunity to work for the management company that worked with Notorious B.I.G., which was signed to Diddy. So through those relationships, I started to learn the music business, and I discovered Foxy Brown shortly after that in Brooklyn, and that was my artist that I managed solely. And big from the beginning, I knew she had a special talent, and obviously the world was able to see that later on. So we got her signed, and then that was my entry into the music business through those relationships and through finding talent on my own and culminating that talent and starting my own company, Downpool Music, and then discovering Shine through my relationships with other people in Brooklyn. I was able to discover Shine and get him a deal. So it was a pretty quick entry in, and I was blessed to get have the relationships to get me into the music business in order to find more talent to have success in the game. So it was that was
Right.
1993
That was a long time ago.
yeah, 1993. Yeah, almost. Yeah, we're going on 30 years.
Well, so speaking of relationships, I like how you said, it's through these relationships things just culminated into, the success you see today. Do you think it was a coincidence that you just happened to meet, the Sean Pete Diddy Combs in Howard, and it seems like you were inspired by his career and his path into music and sort of followed that? Because I mean, you talk about it casually now, but like he's a a hip hop mogul, one of the most famous people in the world,
Correct.
and you two connected it at Howard.
Yeah, I don't know if it was fate or if it was just, our energies wanting to be entrepreneurs on top of being in the music business. So the two, I think two came together because obviously he started out interning. He had a passion for learning the game, same as myself, and then we both turned it into entrepreneurial um, businesses throughout our. He diversified into, obviously, you would know, beverage and clothing, and went from working at a label to owning his own label. So it was those things that inspired me that he did earlier on, and kind of promoting ownership, and proving that it can be done, and not being scared to go out there and make it happen. So I think we shared that, a little bit of that in common, but it was, I don't know if it was a coincidence or it was a blessing that we met earlier on, but definitely meeting someone that had the passion, the energy, and the, the dedication to, owning his own business and working and helping other artists and helping other executives, become successful. That was something that, inspired me that he did.
Yes. Would you say Pete Diddy early on was sort of like a peer mentor?
Yeah.
He's a peer, but someone who really like mentored you or inspired you like that.
Definitely inspired me, and the weird and the crazy thing is I'm older than him, but I was able to be inspired by, all of the accomplishments and all of the, the things that he was able to do. And, his thing was always, can't stop, won't stop. Like he just keeps going. He never gave
Yep.
up. And he had, plenty trials and tribulations throughout his career and his life. And, there were a lot of ups and downs, but he just kept going. So, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of, what he's done, and what he's laid out for, the kids, and for people to see, the path that he took, and to inspire the next generation. Yeah, I'm just grateful for, himself, and
Yeah.
for Jay-Z, obviously, that I met through Foxy Brown and worked with him earlier, in their career when they had a hit record. Jay-Z as well is another one that, very much inspires me with his business acumen, and the things that he's been able to build, and the people that he impacted, and all of the positions and jobs and everything that he's created throughout his journey as well.
Speaking of people who inspired you and their accomplishments, we have to talk about your own. In 1999, you were appointed executive vice president at MCA Records, where you oversaw and co executive produced Mary J. Blige's No More Drama album, which was the album that actually earned her her first Grammy Award and went on to sell 7 million albums. What was your secret to success in this lane? Because you seem like you hit it off really big in music, and you just kept going, and it kept getting bigger and better.
So with Mary, we had we met a while ago when I was managing Foxy Brown, and she did the record "Touch Me, Tease Me" on the Nutty Professor soundtrack on Def Jam, and then that was around 1994, 95. But when I got the opportunity to to become the executive vice president of MCA, it was an honor and a pleasure to have her as my artist to work with, as one of the heads of A&R in the department. So we just hit it off from the start. We had the same goals, the same ideas, the same concepts of where we wanted to go creatively with the album. And the album just blew up. We had this record family affair that I worked on and brought to her. At first, she didn't like the record, but then, after several conversations and her listening to the beat, she went in, did the record.
You had to convince Mary to do Family Affair?
Yeah, she didn't like the beat at first, right? But then once
Really?
she started working on the melodies, and they started putting everything together, she was like, "Oh, okay, I like this." And then we went in, and we did it. We never knew it would be that big. Obviously, it's a Dr. Dre track, so a lot of magic happens on hot Dr. Dre beats. So we went in,
Oh yeah.
we knocked it out, and it became a hit. So that was a moment in time, and the album was hugely successful. It came out at the right time. A lot of things were going on in 2001. We had the World Trade Center. A lot of things were going on. So the album was titled No More Drama. So just worldwide, it was a time that we were calling for just no more drama. So it was just perfect timing, and the album became great. So, and we, today we still work with each other. Even today, we're partners on a few ventures. So, I'm excited to still work with a legend like Mary J. Blige.
Don, I wanted to ask you, so how do you continue to maintain these great relationships with hip hop heavyweights like Mary J. Blige, the queen of hip hop soul, and Diddy and everybody else in the music industry?
I think it started out as, just us, kind of working together, but also being friends and also, trusting each other when it comes to work and, outside of work. So I think, it was just a long term relationship that we've all had together. Obviously, Puff and Mary have a separate relationship than I do with Puff and then I do with Mary, which is great, right? Just so happened that, I have a relationship with Puff and a relationship with Mary separately because we worked separately together, but together, those two, created,
Yeah.
my life and what's the 411, some of the greatest work of our time. So
Oh yeah.
I'm just blessed to have those relationships and keep those relationships for such a long time. And we hang out together. Sometimes we go on vacation, we hang out. So it's a work relationship, and we're also good friends.
I read, Don, that while you were still working in the music business and, of course, finding so much success, you signed a 16 store development deal with Papa John's restaurants to develop in New York City.
Yes.
What inspired you to dive into franchising while you had such a successful career in music?
I think music was going through the entertainment and the music business specifically in 2003, 2004 was going through a change, right? I think there was a lot of downloading in the music industry from what I remember, and free transferring of music where artists wasn't getting paid for their music. That's when it was going from, we saw the earlier signs of, a transition from the physical copy to the digital copy. And then obviously, as we know now, there's, rarely any physical copies or anywhere to play them. So now everything is streaming. But I saw that, the music business was going through a change. So I decided just to diversify, and I wanted something that was proven, that had systems involved. So I looked at the franchising model, and I decided to go into franchising. And it just so happened, with a partner of mine, that we were able to together get this 16 store deal. We developed 5 to 7 stores of that 16 store deal, and then we end up selling our units, and we end up he my partner went into a different direction, and I went into the IHOP brand. But that was my entry into franchising and getting a start in diversifying from music into food and beverage.
That was such a smart move. You talked about, how you saw things were shifting and changing, and you realized now was the time to make that pivot, to diversify. Just your foresight into that. I guess you just see the signs and you were like, it's time to shift.
Um, yeah, yeah, and I was, prior to that, I had a management company, right? And I was used to having my own business. Then when I became an executive, obviously, I was underneath the umbrella of a corporation. And I said, you know what, let me try to go back into, owning my own business, and, but with a proven concept, not taking so much of a risk. And I saw a void in the market for this brand, and it worked out for us. They were just developing, they were trying to develop in the market in the New York area, so we took on the deal and it worked out. So it was a combination of the timing, myself wanting to go back into being diversified, going back into ownership, and just trying to, obviously I wanted to employ more people because I was used to, having my management company. I had a team of people that I employ. So I'm grateful that I was able to create a business where we can employ several individuals. So it was that energy that wanted me to diversify and just bridge, not only being in one industry, just music, but being in food and beverage and music, and just taking a
Right. And
chance.
like you said, you sold multiple Papa Johns. You also had Checkers. restaurants in New York City,
Yes.
and you still own, I believe, multiple IHOP locations in Brooklyn. So again,
Correct.
you found
Correct.
success, and then you're like, let me open up, my own restaurant, Brooklyn Chop House. I think the reason why I keep asking this question is because when people find a groove, they usually stick to it and they're like, things are going well. But you were like, no, I need to do something else. I need to do it bigger. So what inspired you to open the original Brooklyn Chop House?
So I initially got a call after developing and opening four IHOPs in Brooklyn. I got a call from a owner of a property in Lower Manhattan, and he said, "I have a Denny's that's in my that's my tenant, but it looks like they're going to be
Mm.
leaving. So do you want to take this and make it an IHOP?" I said, let me take a look at it. So I took a look at the opportunity, and it was actually a little too close to my IHOP downtown Brooklyn on Livingston and Bond Street in downtown Brooklyn. So I said, you know what? I might have a better idea for that for this location. So he said, I'd rather you put the IHOP there. And I said, well, it's too close. I'm not so sure if Denny's didn't work. And I think I'll try something else. So he trusted and believed in me. And he said, um, I told him my concept. I wanted to do actually a different kind of restaurant at first. There was a few steps before we got to Brooklyn Chop House. I was gonna do a Caribbean restaurant because I have a passion for that, that cuisine, and obviously I'm from Barbados, so I wanted to try something different that was true to myself and my culture. And doing that, we started to buy the equipment, we started to build the restaurant. Then I gave my operating partner a tour of the restaurant, and he said, hey, I know your favorite restaurant is the this Asian fusion with American steaks. I know you like both of those concepts. How about we come up with something different and we put it here? I was like, oh, that's not a bad idea. So I gave my partner, his name is David Thomas, a walkthrough, and then my operating partner Stratus, he came and gave me the idea to mix these two concepts together. So I said, okay, great, let's do that. Let's make it Brooklyn Chop House, which is stands for chopsticks and chop steaks,
Love it.
right? Because I'm just so Brooklyn. I want to take Brooklyn everywhere I go. And obviously, I don't have Brooklyn Chop House in Brooklyn. They're both in New York City and Manhattan, but Brooklyn travels
Oh yeah.
well. So yeah, we decided to keep that brand. And the first one's by the Brooklyn Bridge, so it made sense. And then we launched the restaurant, and we had some success, thank God. And then obviously the pandemic hit, and we came through that, and we came out on the other side of the pandemic stronger, actually. And we got an opportunity to open Times Square. So
Yeah, and we got to talk about, this establishment in Times Square, but I just want to ask you first, what made Brooklyn Chop House successful? Why has it, what's
I,
the staying power?
I think it's it has a lot to do with you know the food is great, by the way. The menu is very, very creative, and we have really creative dumplings on the menu. We use organic food, meat ingredients, which most people don't know. From our chicken, we use Bell and Evans chicken, which costs us more, but it's a healthier option for our guests. And I think it's the support that we've been given. It's the I think it's also a combination from my music background and entertainment that's been married with food and beverage and hospitality that has been able to create like a vibe and a cool space for the culture, the hip hop culture, the R&B culture, kids, parents, everywhere to kind of dine and have a great family experience. And we've been doing it 4 or 5 years, and people love the location. The location is great. So I think it's a combination of all of those things and the support that we've been given um, from everyone that's helped Brooklyn Chop House to have it stay in power and, just create a vibe. The playlist is, not unique, but, you don't find it too often in, Manhattan restaurants. It leans more towards hip hop and R&B and, so it's just the overall ambiance and vibe that, lends itself with all the other things that we created to make it work.
I love it, Don. So now we got to talk about Brooklyn Chop House Times Squares. You and I are both native New Yorkers. What made you choose Times Square? Because a lot of New Yorkers try to stay as far away from 42nd
That
Street as possible.
that is so true.
So when you were
That
like,
is so
tell me
true.
why you chose Times Square.
So there's only one Times Square in the world, and when the pandemic hit, again the owner of the building approached us to see if we wanted to be in Times Square, and this was at a time where Times Square was basically nothing was happening because of the pandemic, everything was shut down. So we were actually a little nervous about going in. But we said if this works out, and the situation, the opportunity was a good opportunity because we wouldn't have gotten it without the pandemic because we couldn't afford to be there because they would only talk to, Fortune 500 companies because the cost of doing business in Times Square is so high. So because of the situation, obviously there were, you know, opportunities and deals and incentives to come in, to give it a shot. And if it works out, then obviously at some point things go back to normal. But initially, um, if we execute and things came back to normal, which it seems like things are normalizing, um, we thought that the location would be perfect for our concept and the size of the restaurant lends itself to doing more events, which we didn't have that capability at the first one. So this restaurant is 25,000 square feet. We can do corporate events, we could do entertainment events, we could do film film album release parties, film parties. We could do it lends itself to be more than just a restaurant and an event space. And we have a rooftop and private dining in the lower level. So it was an opportunity to really expand the brand, and we were doing well. So we thought that having a secondary location would actually help build the brand more.
And speaking of events, Brooklyn Chop House Times Square is a celebrity hotspot. It just opened, but Fat Joe just hosted his star-studded birthday party there in August. As I mentioned to you offline, D Nice had his after party there after he did Club Quarantine at Carnegie Hall this past summer. Why are celebrities flocking to this venue?
I think there's a few venues, but there's not a lot of venues that give you this, type of space and type of feel. So you know, I'm 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 thankful that D Nice chose to, celebrate his historic moment um after his Carnegie Hall performance, and he decided to bring, his guests and do an after event at Brooklyn Chop House as well as Fat Joe. Man, I can't thank him enough for creating a moment that wasn't planned. He decided just to have a birthday dinner with a few friends, and it just turned into this, multiple, spontaneous performances back to back to back to back from some of his close friends that came to celebrate him. So, I'm thankful that he chose Brooklyn Chop House as well to celebrate his moment, as well as, we did a really big grand opening that Mary J Blige hosted, and we really got to showcase her new wine Sun Goddess at the opening. We actually are now, the number one seller of Hawaiian at the restaurant. which I'm thankful for. And, along with her, Fat Joe, I'm the mayor of New York City. We were able to launch the restaurant and, celebrate in, black tie, a really high end black tie affair, which, would it was just amazing. So we're just exciting that um, everyone is just supporting. We're getting from my relationships in the entertainment industry, we are getting celebrities visiting, and we're thankful for that. And we were getting that at the other restaurants, so we're just excited that they have a good time when they come, and as well as all of our other clients and our executives and all of the other guests that's been supporting us from day one, friends, family. Like, we're just thankful for everyone that's been supporting, and hopefully we can expand this brand into other markets. Obviously, we're looking into Abu Dhabi. It looks like that's going to happen.
Wow, a
And
Brooklyn Chop
hopefully,
House in Abu Dhabi? That's
yes, we're
big.
looking at doing that
That's big.
hopefully before the end of the year.
Wow.
So um, that's a blessing. That deal is just about done. And, we just want to grow and, provide jobs and keep growing the brand.
And we talked a lot about the success and how you really hit it off. But Don, I wanted to ask you, what challenges have you faced when it came into getting into the food industry and
Oh,
restaurant
there were
industry?
plenty challenges. Because remember, no one knows me for being in the food business. So once I decided to come into that business, to food and beverage and franchising, um, it was just a challenge from getting financing, from finding locations to signing leases. Obviously, those are the most challenging because you have to have a certain net worth to get in. You have to have a certain level of experience to get in. So the barriers of entry are higher than normal for other industries, because it's almost like you have to be proven, but you got to get in to be proven. So it's challenging, especially for the black and brown community, who usually don't have that level of um, equity or net worth in order to get approved. They may have experience, but not the net worth, or they may have the net worth, not the experience, or they may not have either, but have the passion to get in. So, I'm looking to help, and actually working to create a fund to help minorities, black and brown people, women and men, to get into um, get to have an opportunity to fund them to get into franchising specifically.
And I love that you're going to do that fund. What advice would you give Black entrepreneurs specifically who want to get into franchising or, eventually even want to become a franchisor?
Um, I would say that it's great to invest in brands that have systems. So again, I mean, and picking great locations is the key, obviously, right? When you hear the word location, 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 when you get the opportunity, it's not just you get the opportunity to open a McDonald's and you can put it anywhere, right? You have to do your homework, you have to study, do your market research, and you have to, you know, open it in the right location, obviously, because there's a reason why certain brands do better in certain places, because you actually match that brand with the demographics that love that brand, or the people that are live there or work there. So you have to, you know my advice would be, just study your market, study the brand, make sure this is something that you really want to do and you're passionate about it. Because if you love and you're passionate about it, it doesn't become work anymore. It becomes, it's something that's yours, and it becomes more fun than work, right? And you just have to, again, really, really do, your due diligence, and obviously, um, create a good, surround yourself with a good team. I'm giving a lot of pointers, but yeah, I'm just, being honest. Teamwork is everything. Whether you have, great partnerships or a great leader on your team, you're gonna, need that to be successful.
Don, what was your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Ooh, let me see. The biggest failure. Um, I don't know if it was the biggest, but the one that stood out before I got to Brooklyn Chop House, I tried to open another concept called famous seafood, right? So you don't, a lot of people don't hear about, the ones that didn't make it. So I opened one in Jersey, I opened one in Harlem, and one in Brooklyn, right? I partnered up with a few of my friends, and we thought we were going to be like the next hot seafood concept. So it started out well, and what I learned was I didn't have the systems in place, right? I didn't have the marketing in place. I didn't have the teams in place to execute. Although the food was great and the locations were great, my systems that I had in place weren't great. So it was a learning lesson. I mean, they all opened. This is in the early 2000s, and then we probably closed them all like a year later.
You opened them simultaneously together?
No, we open one at a time. So we open one, um, probably 6 months apart, all three of them. So we
Mm.
opened one, it was doing good. It was, then we started looking for another space maybe 2 months later because it was doing so well. But by the time I got to open another one, the other one wasn't doing as well as it started. So it was challenging to try at that point to open my own brand, and it didn't end well. So that was, what I would say, a learning lesson for me, but I didn't give up. So the lesson there was it didn't work, but didn't give up. I kept going.
So you applied what you learned there to the new business, to the new restaurants. So you took it as a lesson learned.
I took the failure as a lesson to learn, because if you don't do that, you're gonna keep failing. You have to,
Mm.
and you can't give up. You can't say, okay, I didn't say, okay, the restaurant business was terrible. I just didn't give up on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. A last thing, Don, because I know we do have to let you go, but
Okay.
I just wanted to just ask, how did growing up in Brooklyn influence you to become the business mogul that you are today?
Um, it was a few things. Initially, what was really my parents. My parents, instilled, a work ethic in me and my brother. And I was able to watch them. They had a great work ethic. I grew up in a great household. And we had a good education. So it was through them that inspired me initially to, that I could basically do whatever I wanted because they told me that I could, um, and be whoever I wanted. But then I didn't see a lot of entrepreneurial images growing up in my neighborhood. So it wasn't until I met, Dapper Dan, actually, was one of my biggest um, entrepreneurial influences in my life. So when I saw this man have his own boutique on 125th Street, and again, he had these celebrities that would always come through, or people that had money, or he kind of catered to the street element, for lack of a better word. And he was able to be successful in taking his fashion sense and creating something that I'd never seen before. And obviously now today we celebrate him, but I was watching him 30 something years ago, and I said, this guy is going to be you know, I don't know, a legend, you know, and it's just now that we're able to celebrate him. But earlier on, he was able to really, really tap into the culture and that fashion sense, and it showed with everything that we were doing in music and in fashion. He was the go-to. Like if you didn't have a Dapper Dan jacket or something from him, you weren't cool, right? So it was really how I watched him, and then he actually took me under the wing as a kid, because when I would go there, I'd just go and just watch. I didn't want to do nothing. I just wanted to learn. So it was him. It was really Dapper Dan that kind of influenced me and showed me that I could own my own business.
Wow. That's amazing. Don, thank you again for all of the gems and insight that you shared today and just so many lessons, especially when it comes to relationships and how important they are.
Yes.
Early influences, continuing to be persistent no matter what happens, just continuing to pursue your dreams. So it's been great to speak to you and just to watch your career journey.
Oh, thank you. And I do want to add, I know we didn't talk about this part, but there were plenty of doors closed in all of, initially until, the doors open up. You just have to be persistent and you can't take no for an answer, and then just believe in yourself. I just want to add those things because, people are not going to see your vision all the time. And at the end of the day, you just have to be persistent. And I've seen it happen with all the greats, right? From Jay Z to, Diddy, all of them. They all said they weren't good, and they told Jay he wasn't good so much that he had to put the record out himself early
Yep.
on. So, he proved them wrong. So just seeing that inspired me and inspired a lot of other people around me to know that you just can't quit when the opportunity is not there and the doors closed. You keep knocking, and you're gonna open up some other doors by being determined and not giving up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Don. We appreciate you. If you're ever in New York, make sure you stop by Brooklyn Chop House downtown, or you can go to the one in Times Square. Support Black owned businesses and continue to
Thank you.
follow Don Pooh for inspiration. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.